to older people that have vascular issues in the cavernous bodies. Because as you age, you develop atherosclerosis, insulin resistance, diabetes type 2, and then you need something for the blood flow. But the erection, the urge to have sex and an intercourse too,
That's coming from the testosterone.
it's a cerebral hormone, as Monkey Dallas says, and you cannot substitute this with anything else.
Did you know that 8 out of 10 men, or 80% of men, who would qualify for testosterone aren't being treated for testosterone? This is from a French survey, a French study by the French Urology Society, and we're going to discuss why this might be the case and what we can do to fix it. So keep watching. We're here in Athens, Greece today with Dr. George Tiliatos, first time in probably 2 years nearly since we filmed. So welcome to have George, and we're going to unpick why men are being denied testosterone treatment who need it, especially interesting from Medscape. An article has come out, studies come out showing that men are being denied treatment or being ignored for treatment even when they have the symptoms and biomarkers. So welcome, George. Thanks for coming back.
Nice to see you again, Michael.
You too. You too. We've got a lovely day here. We're filming. We've got a nice view of the Acropolis. And we're trying to unpack the reasons why. And I know, testosterone can be a sensitive issue in certain countries. This happened in France. So they have a national health service, but still the fact that testosterone is being ignored, it'd be like having, 80% of men who have diabetes or women who have diabetes not being treated, which is insane. An insane amount of people who are being ignored for a health condition. So just want to ask you your opinion. Why do you think that's the case?
2 years ago in Las Vegas, I told you that 1 out of 2 men that have low already testosterone, they're not aware of this. And even though they go to a specialist, which is a urologist, endocrinologist, and they read the labs and they're officially hypogonademic below 300, they're not treated for this. And I've been saying for quite some time, why do doctors hate testosterone? Yeah. Well, there is a negativity and it's a dislike subject for them. First of all, it's the fear that comes out of ignorance and the misconception that testosterone equals to doping out of bodybuilding. Second of all, they're not educated about the positive effects that testosterone has and what comes out of low testosterone. They begin seeing the negative side effects out of testosterone abuse like erythrocytosis, gynecomastia, or roid rage perhaps. That has nothing to do with optimization. But I believe, I'm a little bit suspicious, let's speak out of a conspiracy theory, that if endocrinologists or urologists prescribe testosterone, then you kick away several medications that are being prescribed by big pharma like metformin, semaglutide, SSRIs, also 5-phosphodiesterase inhibitors, insulin. And this is not something cool for the profits, but let's speak more scientific.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah. So on that topic, I mean, there could be a group of people that feel that way. Years ago, when I worked in pharmaceutical sales, there was a talk of not having cures for disease. They don't want to cure things; they wanted to treat. And so you have a residual income every time someone has to get a medication ordered. But with testosterone treatment, even with, you still need PDE5 inhibitors in some cases to help with erectile dysfunction. And a patient on testosterone.
To older people that have vascular issues in the cavernous bodies. Because as you age, you develop atherosclerosis, insulin resistance, diabetes type 2. And then you need something for the blood flow. But the erection, the urge to have sex and an intercourse too,
That's coming from the testosterone.
it's a cerebral hormone, as Monkey Dallas says, and you cannot substitute this with anything else.
Of course, no, and that's something that we've seen. I've seen it myself. You're a patient as well. With other patients that we treat at Balance My Hormones, we see that too. So the other medication is metformin. Now, obviously testosterone.
Metformin or insulin type 2, that to diabetic type 2 patients that have failed with diet and exercise and metformin, and it's a failure using insulin diabetes type 2 because you are totally diverse. All of my patients that comes to my office that are obese and they have insulin resistant diabetes type 2, all of them have low testosterone. So low testosterone makes you more fat. Obesity brings you diabetes type 2. This brings to metabolic syndrome and cardiovascular disease finally. But everything starts out of the low burning efficiency because you have low androgens.
Low androgens, and it takes time to reverse this. So perhaps some of the benefits of metformin is an mTOR inhibitor. So mTOR is a kind of you're in the growth phase,
Sure.
and this may have an anti-aging property
Protection
in
against
people
cancer, yes.
in people who are on testosterone, not on testosterone. People who don't have diabetes benefit from metformin.
I'm also taking metformin even though my A1C is 4.8.
You're not diabetic, so there are.
I'm not diabetic, but on the other hand, you don't need to go to 5.7 to start taking metformin. It's a prevention rule.
Well, that's almost getting back to one of the parts of the studies was why are people being missed? And one of the reasons they said people were being missed is because of the reference ranges, as we've talked about all the time. But it's not just the reference ranges, it's how out of custom, not even medical science, but custom in the medical community to look at age-related testosterone levels and match them to the age.
Our friend Rick Collins said that perfectly well in Orlando, that the reference rate doesn't mean it's healthy, because we compromise with the decline for the past 50 years of the testosterone society. Dropping, yes. So back in the 90s, in the mid-90s, you were referred as hypogonadal below 450. Yeah. Now you need 250. That equals a lousy, pathetic stage.
Well, absolutely. And the other part of it is they're going to look at someone within, a 40 to 50-year-old age range, rather than comparing it to a younger age range. And this is somewhat kind of corresponds to what Dr. Hertog was talking about with HGH treatment, where when you dose with HGH, you want to look at the young person's healthy levels, not the person of that age. Because if you're 40, you might be packed in with all the other 40-year-olds who are going to have low levels. That doesn't mean it's a good level to have, an optimal level to have for health.
Usually, middle-aged men that come to my office, I'm telling them, I'm going to take you up to the puberty levels of a teenager. That's when men thrive, when they have over 50% and they target closer to 80%, 90% of the total testosterone, close to 1,000. This is when a man is full of vitality and he can accomplish his dreams.
And he has some of the highest levels of testosterone,
And
DHT,
yes.
energy.
Positivity. You don't get bored, you don't get tired, okay?
And isn't it interesting that, men who have these highest levels when they're young, we're not seeing an elevation in prostate cancers or hair loss in young men, are we? So that was one of the other bits of the article that talked about it could be this misconception, this mythology around testosterone causing prostate cancer.
Prostate enlargement and cancer, occasionally, it's a disease of the older people. Every man almost at his 80s is going to develop a BPH no matter what.
Now, BPH is non-cancerous.
Yes.
It's a growth. It's a benign growth.
Nothing to do with the malignancy of the prostate cancer. But I've been saying this fact. How many people are taking worldwide testosterone? Is it 1% of the society, of the global population of men? How many are developing prostate cancer? Is the 99 rest of them that are not on testosterone? Bodybuilders is the worst case of testosterone and androgen abuse. Nevertheless, they died of a heart attack because of the plethora of stacking of PEDs, but none of them develops prostate cancer.
In that way. So I think there's a big, unfortunate mythology and scare around the use of testosterone, and that needs to change because there are a lot of people that could be helped.
Well, Morgenthau is a great ally, and he has done a great effort to lighten up the medical community. That low testosterone brings prostate cancer, prostatitis, metabolic syndrome, even colonic cancer, as Ron McLean believes. Okay, many negative things. Aging and inflammation is a result of low testosterone. But we speak about optimization. We don't speak about bloody abuse that bodybuilders do. We have to separate these two things.
Do you think Morgenthau is being bullied by the traditional medical establishment to quiet down a bit?
Yeah, to lower his tone, because strangely, there was one Sunday that I woke up his Twitter and he said, the fact that no man has zero testosterone, but many women have zero estrogens, means that TRT is not something obligatory, unlike the HRT in women, which is something, because women can have zero estrogens, but no man can have zero testosterone. I said, what the heck is going on here? He changed his attitude and his idea about this. And Rick Collins said that perhaps the medical board asked him to lower his tone. And I said, if Morgenthau is the god of testosterone, and he's afraid of this, and he hesitates a little bit, what the hell is going on there?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Abraham Morgenthau is a Harvard professor who kind of realized after treating all these men with low who had prostate cancer that testosterone wasn't aggravating the cancer any further, and he kind of came to the conclusion and through his studies and he actually looked at the original research, right? He said he found 2 patients in the original studies by Huggins. Huggins was
only one case it was,
and there's only one case. And they weren't even using a PSA measure. They used like a phosphatase, which was a measure they used back then. And it was for men who had already had the prostate cancer, and that it kind of, I think, plateaued out. So the data was wrong, and then it caused all the men to suffer for generations since the 1940s to have this myth, this thought that testosterone causes prostate cancer was wrong. And now we have to kind of unravel that and fix that so that people can, get treatment if they need it without fear that they're going to get prostate cancer.
The States believes that under certain medication and treatment, you can still use testosterone with prostate cancer. I had a case from the US. He's a 60-year-old guy. He doesn't want to get it removed. He's taking dutasteride, testosterone, DIM, and his PSA remains still at 5. So he's not afraid of using testosterone because of the quality of life.
Stabilized, exactly.
And Spadini said, based on Hertog's book, that men who are receiving testosterone during prostate cancer, of course, they have better survival rate than men who are getting castrated by GnRH agonists.
Yeah, which...
That brings to plethora of side effects. Metabolic syndrome, depression.
Which is an awful, almost barbaric, medieval type of treatment, really, if you think about it, taking away men's hormones. And as I guess to a certain extent,
equals castration.
It's just not good for the quality of life. And even if you have slightly extended life, what's the benefit of that? So one of the other myths, I guess, or thoughts around testosterone, that's
cardiovascular disease, of course.
Cardiovascular disease.
We've been saying that testosterone improves the blood flow of the cavernous bodies, but also of the coronary arteries because it vasodilates through the nitric oxide production. And Morgenthaler said that endothelial dysfunction equals erectile dysfunction. So there's a connection between the heart and the penis. Blood flow. It all has to do. That's why we shouldn't block estrogens, because they are beneficial for HDL, for endothelium, for the heart health.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I think we kind of moved beyond that point of...
Testosterone is the fundamental hormone. You cannot substitute TRT with any other compound because it produces two basic hormones, DHT and E2. Now, we shouldn't block.
You need both of them.
They are both necessary.
There's some other studies that show that, low testosterone can be linked to heart failure as well, or even AFib. And I know there's some confounding studies that kind of...
Yeah, there was another link that I recall emailed me. It was about the abuse of testosterone anabolic steroids that brings to AFib. Okay, this is another thing. And I believe
steroids aren't testosterone replacement therapy,
yeah,
and not
even if you abuse testosterone massively up to 600 milligrams or 1 gram, I believe there's a firing the impulses way faster, so the heart beats in a faster mode, even in a resting state, to bodybuilders that are even they're not taking stimulants. So you have faster heart rate because of the abuse of the androgens that makes heart pump more efficiently and faster. But if you optimize this, Hertog believes that you have better inotropic function because you improve the calcium and the magnesium that makes the systolic function better of the myocardium.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, being on testosterone therapy can help heal the heart, generally speaking. And we'll have, we've had videos in the past with a cardiologist on the channel, Dr. Sanjay Gupta. So we'll probably have...
Yeah, your heart is a muscle, okay? It needs it will act like a pump. And I believe testosterone has beneficial effects.
Many cardiologists do believe that you can increase the ejection fraction and the pumping heart with the optimal testosterone treatments. So I guess that gets back to the crux of the story is, men are being essentially denied or ignored for being put on testosterone replacement therapy.
So, let me put it this way. Yeah. If a urologist prescribes testosterone, how on earth he will prescribe 5-feet phosphodiesterone? How he will inject nitric oxide into the cavernous body, and he will do the crustic waves. So one vial of 10 pounds, let's say the most, kicks away
much of that,
a variety of other alternatives that cost more. Now, obviously, the endocrinologist will not give you testosterone because it will reverse diabetes, but instead he will prescribe you Ozempic, which is very expensive. Nevertheless, okay, you improve a little bit the insulin sensitivity with Ozempic. Where the hell hypogonadism goes? That brings you depression. That brings you erectile dysfunction. So you treat from just one point of view, but not where it begins from the hypogonadism, right?
I think that's the base. The base is your testosterone replacement therapy if you need it. And the question of who needs it, a lot more people need it than are receiving it.
Don't ask you how much is your testosterone, because if you have low testosterone, you're definitely going to have depression.
Well, that's what's always interesting, is that why psychiatrists never have taken up the mantle of testosterone replacement therapy, because that also affects the mood and the brain, anxiety, depression.
Iron and testosterone combination can make you happy.
But yet psychiatry doesn't really acknowledge
And
this.
her talk said that the psychiatry has to take this under consideration.
Yeah, I think they're missing the boat, and they could be helping a lot of people. And that I don't think testosterone treatment should only be offered by endocrinology or urology, but by the GP, by sexual medicine doctors, by psychiatry. There's lots of specialties that could help with testosterone replacement therapy.
Fatigue and stamina and endurance are improved by testosterone also, by erythropoiesis,
Okay, so I think that kind of wraps up, I guess, the summary of, testosterone is not being offered to patients, at least 80% of patients. And as I've said, could you imagine if 80% of diabetes patients, 8 out of 10 didn't receive treatments for diabetes? I think there would be an uproar in society if that were the case. Yet we don't hear that about testosterone, at least not yet. But if you've experienced denial of care or being ignored by your doctor, if you think you needed testosterone treatment and weren't offered it, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you what you think about it.
This is why many men in the States self-medicate themselves. They take the situation out of their control because they find no help and no hope in the medical.
And they say, yes, solve the medical community. So essentially the medical community is at odds with men. Men, it's hard enough to get them to the doctor in the first place. Most of us men, we kind of ignore, not medical advice, but just going to see doctors. And so, if you're going to go spend the time to see a doctor, if you're going to get out of your kind of routine, you want them to be able to help solve the problem. And ignoring something that's important as testosterone, especially as we talked about why are we men so low on testosterone, the environmental toxins, the lifestyle, then I think it's important that people get acknowledged and treated for that rather than gaslit and ignored. So that's it for today. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave those in the comments. Let us know if you've had the experience of being ignored by the medical professions, and I guess we'll see you next time. And if you like content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and watch our other content on similar topics around testosterone and all things hormones. See you next time. We've barely scratched the surface today. For more insight into hormonal health, why not explore our channel? We've got a wealth of content awaiting your attention, and you can also visit our website at balancemyhormones.co.uk. So, this is Mike from Balance My Hormones, your beacon in the fascinating world of hormonal health. And until next time, remember, knowledge is power, and your journey to wellness starts here with Balance My Hormones.